Imagine you and your partner hanging out, walking around, having fun. Regular teenage things. Until you find a secluded space all to yourselves, such as a bedroom, and they want to start experimenting with you on an intimate level. Problem is, you don't know if you want to do that. But they keep egging you on, making you feel like you have to do this with them, or else they're going to become violent and abusive. What do? Hello everyone, my name is Kay Halpin from the voice competition for the UN Youth Australia organisation here on YouTube, and what you just heard was one of thousands of cases of coercive control, or specifically sexual coercion. Coercive control is when partner A forces or threatens partner B into letting A take control over B's life without explicitly stating it. And sexual coercion is when A manipulates B into partaking in sexual acts with them despite B not wanting this. Fortunately, all forms of sexual activities through coercion have been deemed as sexual assault and have been criminalised in New South Wales and Queensland. Despite that, coercion still remains as an extremely problematic crisis, especially among teenage relationships, because it usually occurs when teens are experimenting with their sexual preferences, and they are learning from adults, where coercion is already easily recognised compared to younger people, where instead it gets played off and misinterpreted. My goal by the end of this is to educate you on what coercion is, what the effects are on the victim, and the best possible solution or solutions to protect ourselves and other young people from this abhorrent behaviour. First and foremost, I want us to actually understand what the victim experiences in a coercive relationship. And to do that, we're going to break this up into 3 separate categories, starting off with the emotional effects. Coercion is a form of emotional abuse, which is defined as convincing another person to doubt their own confidence or worth. This is used to control them, and it often contributes with physical or sexual abuse according to Health Direct. Emotional abuse can be seen through repetitive, harsh criticism, love bombing, humiliation, guilt tripping, and victim blaming, just to name a few. And this in turn leads to substance abuse, self-harm or suicide ideation, low self-esteem, and a long-lasting difficulty in trust and relationships in the victim. For instance, when partner B is trying to speak with partner A for making B feel worthless and salvageable through humiliation, A deflects and states, "You make everything about you. I've done nothing." And now B is doubting the memory of what just happened 30 seconds ago. According to a study in 2021 by the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 7 men had experienced emotional abuse by their previous or current partner. That is roughly 2.3 million women and 1.3 million men who had suffered through this, and yet were brave enough to speak their voice. I can't imagine how many more there are in our country, our home, who have suffered through the exact same thing, but were silenced or too scared to do anything. Secondly, for our next category, which I personally feel doesn't get enough attention when talking about abuse, includes the financial effects on the victim. Financial or economic abuse, according to Money Smart, is when someone limits another's access to money, influences their financial choices, and uses their economic resources without their consent. And this is heavily prevalent in coercive relationships. This is to ensure the abuser can maintain absolute authority over their partner by forcing them to buy or sign contracts, creating debt in their names, placing strict budgets on them that barely covers for basic necessities. This causes the victim to feel trapped and unconfident in their money decisions, like they have to depend on their partner because they know best, which only makes things way more challenging to actually break off the relationship. Even after it finishes, research suggests that it still continues and actually intensifies. Referring back to the Institute of Health and Welfare, 16% of women and 7.8% of men had experienced economic abuse by their previous or current partner, which, to put that into perspective, is approximately 1.6 million and 745,000 women and men who have yet again suffered at the hands of tyrants. Finally, let's give it up for the final category, the sexual effects of coercion. Sexual coercion is a form of sexually abusive behavior that involves threatening or convincing your partner into partaking in intimacy without wanting to nor consenting to it, or going to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. When partner A forces partner B to do something sexual with them in the way that A wants particularly, B doesn't see any other way out of this without upsetting A and causing them to become physically or sexually violent. B may potentially run the risk of attaining STDs, unwanted pregnancies, or other gynecological issues, which will further lead to or enhance the emotional and or financial abuse already present, which makes everything more complicated and difficult to recover from. It was reported by the Institute of Health and Welfare that in 2021, 49% of females and 31% of males aged between 16 to 17 years reported having experienced forms of unwanted sexual behavior by their partner, which is equivalent to 1 in 2 girls and 1 in 3 boys who had endured such traumatic incidents by the people they once loved and cherished. It's honestly astounding how these people, if we can even mark them as humans, can simply crush their friends, families, peers, and partners' faith and trust with such calculated evil. Now that we've covered the categories of what victims do experience, what can we do with this information? The best possible solution that I can supply to each and every one of you is education. Education is a powerful tool, and that comes with teaching. And so far, I have not seen an actual thorough lesson regarding intimate relationships in high school. The most I remember touching base on when learning about this was to respect boundaries and puberty. And that was in year 10. This is something that should have already been taught in 5th grade, not when I nearly finished my high school years. I want schools to start implementing lessons regarding actual sex ed and healthy intimate relationships within the year 7, 8, and 9 HP syllabus, as well as applying government-funded programs such as the Respectful Relationships Education Program that address these topics in school. If for some reason that isn't enough, I invite the parents to come forward and bestow their infinite wisdom onto their children. Provide personal experience. Make yourself available to communicate with. Become the protector that your child can come to when they feel unsafe in their situation. Throughout history in our lives, abuse is everywhere. It never disappeared when we introduced morals into society, it just got given a name. But yet more than half the globe dismisses it entirely. Right now, we need respect and justice. Respect to the victims and their families for having to endure this disgusting behavior, and justice served to the sick deviants who cause their suffering.